Rabbi Michal Guterman, the director of Shuvu, was deathly ill, and there appeared to be no hope. That is, until his own family and friends, along with thousands of Shuvu children, stormed the gates of Shamayim, begging Hashem to give life to the man who meant so much to them.
It basically started at Shabbos afternoon. I was at the Koisel together with my family, and I wasn't feeling too well. I thought maybe I just had a flu. I was laying in bed for 3 days, and it was basically getting worse. But by the next morning, I was already very ill, and the doctor said that my liver was basically collapsed and was finished, and my kidney wasn't functioning, and basically nothing was functioning. And basically told my wife that she has another half an hour to talk to me, and asked me what I wanted to say to the children. And the doctors basically told my wife that she has to say goodbye to me.
Friday in the morning, around 9 o'clock in the morning, every 10-15 minutes I have another telephone number from friends, neighbors, that we have a friend, his name is Guterman, and he's in the hospital, in the intensive care, and he's not in a good condition, and every half an hour he changed the language. His very critical case. A half an hour ago, he's in intensive care, and the doctor wants to put him off the respirator. And around 10:30 o'clock, the director for the liver units told me that he's in a critical case, and we think that he don't have a chance. And his last chance is to do a liver transplant. We start, and Baruch Hashem, we find a place in Belgium.
The doctor then called me and said, "Is this Mrs. Guterman?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Come into my office, please, and take a seat. Would you like a drink of water?" I thought, I can't believe this is happening to me. These things don't happen to normal families. These are the things you read about in books. What could they tell me? I had left my husband the night before. He was ill, but he wasn't that ill. And then the doctor said, "I'm very sorry to have to tell you, but things have deteriorated rapidly since last night. Your husband's liver function is almost non-existent, and his kidneys are not functioning at all. I'm afraid your husband is soon going to lose consciousness, and you probably have half an hour left with him." I asked, "Is there nothing you can do?" And they said, "The only way to save him is through a liver transplant, and it's something that we can't do here in Israel. Perhaps if you have any contacts abroad, perhaps you could arrange something. But remember that you probably only have a half an hour left with him, so I think you should spend your time and talk to him." I looked at this doctor, who was sitting there, so detached and cool, and I felt, who gave him the right to decide who's going to live and who's going to die? How could he say such a thing to me?
The best doctors with a lot of experience tell you, don't do it. Don't send them to the Belgium. It's zero chance. I promised you 100% to die in the ambulance in the way to the flight, or in the flight, or straight after when he came to Belgium.
My phone rang again. This time my father was on the phone. And I said to him, "Daddy, how do you say Vidui? I don't know what I'm supposed to say with him." And my father said, No, it's not going to come to that. We're all davening for you, and we're going to do everything we can to save him. There's no reason to say Vidui now with your husband." By then, he was already in a coma. But there had been a crisis. And Baruch Hashem, that crisis had passed. And our worst fears were not realized yet. The doctors had induced the coma so that he could travel, and the plan was still on to leave very shortly. I couldn't believe that we still had a chance. I just opened my Tehillim. I remember it so vividly, opening the Tehillim randomly, turning to page Kuf Beis, Tefillah Le'ani. It was so appropriate for the moment. Oymar, Kayli, Alta Aleni B'chatzi Yomoi. The situation was desperate, but I was so thankful that we still had something to daven for. And my heart poured out, crying so loud. I wasn't crying from sadness. I was crying that we still had something to daven for. But everybody around me misunderstood me. There were strangers there, women who came up to me and put their arms around me, trying to comfort me. And I said, "It's all right, it's fine, leave me please. I just have to daven."
They took him off to Belgium, and that's when we actually spread the news that he needs tefillas, and that's the only thing that could save him. And that Friday night, we ended the Shabbos Suda very quickly. The Gabbai announced in Shul that there's going to be a special tefillah Friday night.
And then phone calls started coming into Shuvu. I was getting phone calls from people, "Is this Rabbi Guterman that we know? Is this our Rabbi Guterman?" People were crying again, and every time they asked, "What could we do for him?" the answer was only to daven. And I remember telling my husband, I said, I hope that there's a big nace, because so many Russian people that never believed, not in Hashem and not in Tefillah, are davening now. And I don't want chas v'shalom that if anything would happen, they would maybe get turned off and say, it doesn't help. And I believe honestly, because I got these phone calls and know these people personally, I know their background, the miracle that happened with Rabbi Guterman, I really feel is so much in the schus of these Russian people that for the first times in their lives took a siddur and davened. They never davened before. I don't know if they ever would have davened. Every time we said a little improvement, it gave them more strength to continue to daven. Of course, everybody was davening, but talking about Shuva, we're talking about people that never davened before. We had children that their mothers didn't let them daven at home. They never let them bring a siddur home. We had children that asked us, could we daven in the bathrooms? Because that's where my mother doesn't see and it won't bother her. And this broke the ice. And Baruch Hashem, of course in the schos of Tefillah, because that was all people were doing. That was the only thing we could do at that point. There was nothing else to be done. It was an ace. It was a miracle that Rabbi Guterman today is with us.
We were really zoiche to see the progress. You know, a lot of times you ask something from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a father that loves us. And sometimes a father, if he knows that it's not good, he could tell us no. But here, every time we davened more, and we saw him progressing, and when we heard that he was waking up and he was noticing people.
I remember still, looking out of the window, there in Brussels, Belgium, and suddenly getting a complete new insight into Tefillah. Before then, I'd always thought that whenever I managed to daven, I was doing a mitzvah and I was being good. But suddenly I realized that's not what it is at all. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need my tefillahs. I need HaKadosh Baruch Hu for every single thing that I do, for every breath. I need him to keep us alive. And the insight was so real and clear to me that to this day, it's one of the good things that has come out of our whole story. I suddenly learned how to daven there in Brussels.
The time when I spoke to Rapam, who I know davened very much for me from the minute he heard that I wasn't well, and Rapam telling me in the schus of the children of Shuvu, of the Tefillahs, in that schus I got my life back, I got Chaim back as a matana from Hashem.
But there's no question in our minds, and even the doctors, the non-Jewish doctors in Belgium, they agreed that there was no medical intervention that they could do. And it was only prayers, our prayers, and the prayers of Klal Yisrael that helped to pull him through.
And this is a good study for the life, to understand that afilu cherev chada munachat al tzavaro, also if a knife is in the neck, don't worry it. Don't forget that you have Ribono Shel Olam, and in every situation.
And little children who, when their parents told them of the Nes, so they said, "What is the Nes here?" I mean, we davened. The children said, "What was the Nes?" Of course, we davened.
This Suda Siddur is for the Chasdei Hashem that he did to Reb Chaim Michoel. But it's more than that. It's a personal sense of Hidoy and Akora ad ein l'shaya. I'm not capable of expressing the full meaning, what it means to us to have Reb Chaim Michoel right here with us.